Hi YouTube. So I've not been active for a while, and that's because I've been taking time out just to try and get my career and other aspects of my life in order. And regarding the career, I've actually finally found a job which matches up really well with my skills and interests, so I no longer dread going to work in the morning, and it's really good. I'm really happy there. So onto the subject of this video, I got ripped off on a motorbike. I got a Kawasaki GPX 250 for £500, and I knew that the engine wasn't working, and I took the engine apart, and one of the main problems is I don't think a piston's meant to move like that. The whole crankshaft is very difficult to turn, and when I took it off the bike, this bolt here is just fused to the engine block. There is no way that is coming out without just destroying the bottom half of the engine block. So it's going to be a nightmare to repair this thing, and I just cannot be bothered with it. It just really sums up why I hate engines. They're just full of disgusting carcinogenic substances, and they're just complicated, dirty, and I just don't really like them. Unless they're maybe running on natural gas or propane, in which case they don't tend to smell as bad and the oil lasts longer, and you don't tend to get pistons turning black like this. My original plan was just to take the engine out, fix it, because it did actually run, but due to this piston here, I was just knocking very loudly and would not go much above idle. So I don't think I'll be able to fix this. I probably could, but then again, it's just not something I'm particularly interested in. I just don't really like petrol engines, so I'll show you what my plan is. The plan is to put this electric motor in it, and I bought this quite a few years ago for £100 off eBay. You just cannot get them anymore anywhere, sadly, unless you're willing to spend about £2 on one, which is just ridiculous. But this one is nice and cheap. I'll need to try and find the encoder for it. I could maybe get another one, but this thing could probably hit peaks of 10 kilowatts, but can run at 7 kilowatts continuously, 7 or 8 I believe it is. And it's a dual stator design, so I could run it with 2 controllers, or just one large one. If I run it on 2 controllers, that's giving me redundancy, so if one of the controllers fails and shorts out, I could just disconnect that controller and run it on the other one and still get home. So that's probably a good option to use this motor. Now, it won't be mega powerful, it'll be equivalent to a 125, which is fine. But the real difficulty with this project is going to be manufacturing the battery box and battling with the DVSA on how to get this thing re-type approved as an electric vehicle, because they certainly do not make anything easy. Okay, so you can probably imagine that the motor's going to sit in here somewhere like that, and the shaft is just long enough for me to get a sprocket on the end, and there are ones available on eBay, but they're quite expensive at £70, because that's a 19mm shaft with keyway, so it could go on the end of that, no problem. And it doesn't really take up too much space. It's fairly heavy, but nowhere near as heavy as the engine. But once you add the batteries, it'll probably overall be heavier. So that's a chain running back there. It's going to have to come apart and be de-rusted as well, repainted. But if you imagine, like, this air box can come out with the battery box. We could maybe put like chargers, DC converters in there, or what we could do is put the charger and DC converter inside the fuel tank maybe, and then just have extra batteries just going back here, and sort of we could make the battery actually quite thin and it would fit inside the fairings. So I'm only wanting about 5 kilowatt hours, 5 or 6, and that will do me for getting back and forth to work, with the possible option of a small range extender which could be mounted somewhere, but who knows, it's just all concept and imagination at this stage. The engine, of course, isn't a total loss. I've just put as much pieces of it as I can on eBay, like the clutch cover, we've got the cylinder barrels, and just lots of useful parts. So someone who's into this sort of thing could just buy the parts for cheap and repair their bike. As far as range extenders go, we've got two options here. So this is a 1 kilowatt inverter generator core, so it's not particularly heavy or large, and that'd probably be okay. And I'll just need to do a bit of work on the carburetor. It could be controlled with an Arduino or something. And it's got a brushless generator on the end, just built into the thing, which could double as a starter motor for it. And I've also got a much bigger 2000 watt one, which would probably output a lot more. I actually rewound this quite a while ago for lower voltage because I thought I would use it for charging my off-grid batteries, but even so, I would probably be able to be boosted up to 96 volts just using the controller, the inverter, which would act as a starter motor for it. So yeah, this was out of an EU20i inverter generator, I believe, but I think it's just going to be too big. This one is probably better. I know it probably only output about 1000 watts, but it's enough just to get you out of a tricky situation. We can maybe just put like a 2 or 3 litre fuel tank somewhere. It doesn't need to be too big, and of course the exhaust routing, we could figure all that out. But I've never actually run this. But I think it needs a new carburetor. I took all the jets out because I was going to run it on propane, but I don't know how to put the jets back in properly, so that's just brilliant. I'll just need to get a new one for that.